Good morning, everyone. We'll get started and pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God, we thank you for the opportunity again to come together to do the business of the county. Once again, we pray that you would give the commissioners guidance as they make decisions that impact all the residents of the county. We ask you to watch over our employees, protect them as they serve. We pray all of this.
Danny's not here with us this morning.
He emailed me in the middle of the night and said that he's about 5-hour time difference, but if we needed him to call his cell phone and he would answer it.
Okay.
I've reviewed last week's minutes, make a motion that we approve them.
I'll second it. Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That it?
Oh, I got, oh, no. Got the bills.
Make a motion, we pass the bills in the amount of $182,046.69. That's my motion.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have the sheriff's numbers.
Sheriff's report, total prisoners 17, in-house 16, one farmed out, 122 911 calls, total calls for service 381, civil service papers served 14, VIN inspections 0, new cases opened 8, cases closed 9, vehicles crashes 5, bailiff activities 84, 2 livestock out.
Was Kathy going to come over here today?
You don't know. Did we need her?
Well, she's going to document that all the commissioners got and Gary. And I didn't know if she wanted to go over it or not. We got time. So
Yeah, we definitely will have time today. Like I said, we've got the budget hearing at 11 and it was published for 11 o'clock, so we can't start it till 11. I think the only other thing I've got ahead of that is, we've got a resolution appointing Randy as the emergency management director. And I've got that numbered and ready to go.
We have to make a motion to appointing.
Motion to approve that resolution.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution that Randy Hedgewold is the Linn County Emergency Management Coordinator Director, effective August 1 of 2022. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Randy, you need a copy of that? All right.
Okay, can you see if Kathy will come over and explain that or go over that with us? Just call her or text her or whatever you do.
Anything else, David?
I think that's all I've got.
Okay. AMR?
Good morning, Galen Anderson with AMR. We have stayed pretty busy here in the county with 18 transports in the last week so far for the month of August. And finally have some good news on the hiring front. Previously we had, we were short 1 full-time EMT and 2 full-time paramedics. We hired 1 full-time EMT who will be starting their new employee orientation here in the next week or so. And then we have one part-time paramedic who's expressed interest in going full-time and quitting their outside job. So that will help immensely. And then we also have one external full-time paramedic with a lot of years of experience from another county that actually came in and did a ride along over the weekend to get a feel for the service in the area and had a good experience and put his application in as well. So if everything goes as we expect, we'll have all our positions filled in the next month or so.
Good.
That was the big topic at our meeting in Topeka this last week was filling positions.
Yeah. Now
I guess your
we'll
big
count
corporation
ourselves
up there, AMR, has a pretty good shortage, huh?
lucky. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Every AMR operation in the state has some shortages. And then outside of that, all the county-based services, fire-based service, hospital-based services, everybody has shortages. So it'll be an ongoing conversation for sure. The end of this week, I'll be heading to Mulvane, Kansas to participate in the KEMSA annual conference, where we kind of showcase our service as an opportunity for recruiting as EMTs and paramedics all over the state. KEMSA stands for the Kansas EMS Association, so it's kind of the major state career association conference for the year. So I'll be there the end of this week and through the weekend. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have we have a employee from Linn County and an employee from the Kansas City operation that's been requested to attend that are finalists for some of the annual awards that they do. So
Yeah, let us know.
yeah, see how that goes, but that's exciting. Anything for me?
I don't have anything.
All right, have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Randy?
Morning, Commissioners. Our district runs for this past week, we had 12. We did have one run to mutual aid to Port Scott with the transformer fire. A lot of that was based on, we carry the F500 fire suppression, and that's what Evergy and Fort Scott had requested to help with that fire. So we sent a truck and phoned down for that. We had 12 incidents over the last week, brought our incidents up to 332. We have a all-district training scheduled for August 27th. We have a house in Prescott that we're going to do some smoke training. This smoke machine, get some guys used to wearing SCBAs, and we have a lot of newer guys that we're going to do that with. So just kind of give you an update on that. Other than that, things are going pretty smooth. You guys have any questions?
Can you give us an updated roster next week of the people that sit on the fire board and when their next terms due, please?
I can.
Thank you.
How many are on the board?
7.
7 total, 2 from each one rover, I think.
You know, one person that's related to the fire service on the fire department, and then one that's not fire related from each district, and then a at large.
Okay.
How many inspections do you go through a year for your equipment, different things?
Depends what
So we're-
equipment it is.
this is hopefully our goal that the commission has, and we've talked about it a little bit from time to time, is everybody that has inspections on something, that report should be delivered to the commission so we know what's going on in the county. And I don't know that it always is, so
Okay.
I'm talking about yours, I'm talking about down at the landfill and various places where there's required inspections by the state or federal government.
Right. And some of that is like, you just gave us approval about a month ago to do truck inspections that
Right.
are about completed for the year. We have some SCBA inspections that are coming due in the fall on the tanks themselves. So yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Randy. You got something, Gary?
Got a couple requests for remediation of dump fees. The first one is a building in Lacine, owned by Joanne Newport. The codes officer has reviewed the petition or the request. It has everything it's required to have, and it definitely is in need of demolition. And so that's, the address on that is 20261 Taylor Road in Lacine. The other one is a property in Mound City owned by Melissa Weldon. It's at 5971 Montgomery Road. And it is, again, a property that's in bad condition. They're replacing it with a new trailer and they need to demo.
Is that a request from the individual or from the?
Well, the requests are from the individual, but if they are in the city, a mayor,
Taylor Road is in the city.
I got to go say, if they're in the city council or the mayor endorses it. If they're not, then it's just us that endorse it.
Yeah.
And so in both these cases, these are not in the city.
Right.
So there's no city paperwork involved. So those are the two, one in Mound City, one in Lacine, Newport in Lacine, and Weldon in.
For no dump fees.
Right, a request that the reduced or eliminated the dump fees.
I'll make that motion that we agree to that on those two properties.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Kathy, you want to come ahead now, or you?
Give us some cheery news.
It's cheery when it comes from the treasurer's office, right? Last week, I had sent the commission our 2021 final ratio study, which would have been our values effective January 1, 2021, which is, I wasn't here, but I started in July of 1st, 2021. So, however, this is part of our 2022 compliance. So they go back 1 year on our ratio study, and then they take our ratio study portion of compliance, and which is what they call their statistical portion, and then they take our procedural, and there's a point system that they use to see if we're in what's called substantial compliance. So we had received, on the date that I had sent this letter, we had received a letter that was actually addressed to the commission, so I knew that it was going to go to David as well for you. And it stated that the 2021 real estate appraisal / sales ratio study was, which we were deemed out of compliance on residential. Now, for last year, if you remember, that property valuation came in and talked to us, because last year's, when I was here, right after I got here, they were deemed out of compliance, substantial compliance at that time. And it was due to several different factors. And it was due to the residential final ratio study. The commercial was out of compliance in an area. And then there was 3 procedural issues that we were out of compliance on. So good news is that we've narrowed the gap on that. We actually were deemed in compliance on ratio study for commercial, which is good. We hit those statistical measures. We did on procedural, which actually I got in my email today, because I said that was going to be forthcoming. On our procedural, the 3 issues that they had found on processing of compliance items have been corrected. So that was on our economic factor study. On part of the land, that was some C notes, some overrides that were in our system, and I'm trying to think of one other thing. There's been so much, because I've had to basically from square one redo all analysis. So we did, talking about the email that was sent last week, we are graded on substantial compliance very heavily on residential because that's our biggest base of values. So they have a weighting system on that to where you can get so many points, and that's the biggest hit on our substantial. That's why we didn't hit, and I don't have, I just printed off right as I come over here, our, because I just got it in the email, our point system, and I think it says, I'm just gonna look here because I got too many things. Yeah, just printed it off, hot off the press here. We get 50 points allocated just for residential. Well, we didn't get any of those points, and because our median ratio was at 88.9 and it needed to be at 90 or above, so we're almost there. I did try to appeal some of those values that they used in those because I didn't feel like they were good sales. If they can't, they have to do their own independent study, and so if they can't get a hold of the people, they keep it into our ratio study. So there was a handful that I felt should have been kicked out, but since they couldn't make an independent decision on getting those kicked out, they left them in there. So I do have a copy of all the sales that were utilized. Some of them I don't agree with because some of them, one of them was a trade of property, one of them was, there was several in there. Would it have made us in? Maybe, but they didn't include them, so we're out. They didn't take them out. On the uniformity, that was the biggest kicker last year. I think our uniformity measures last year, I was going to look. That's what really hit us hard last year was basically if you imagine a dartboard and we're trying to get within 20 or less on that dartboard, that's the 20 in the center. And when you throw arrows, it does uniformity measure. So if the farther away from that, so basically we have a lot of diverse properties here, so we don't have a lot of cookie cutter subdivisions or anything. So it's one of those, when you look at sales, and the lake properties really don't help us a lot because our classification is what's utilized, which is residential, is we have a lot of sheds that are picked up as residential, meaning not that they're residential, but they're residential classification because they're used to store personal household goods in effect. There's quite a few of those in our ratio study. So we have kind of a mix of, you go from high dollar to low dollar is trying to measure how good we're getting close to that center. We are a lot closer than we were last year, which is good. For 2020 to 2021, because I know that they did have to raise values in 2021 because of the market. I just don't know that they did it quite as much as they needed to, but I know in our ratio we did submit a trend, and some of those trends and property valuation did get involved with helping us find trends because we actually broke it down, and there was some properties that we saw up to a 40% trend that had to be applied. So from 2020 to 2021, that's pretty substantial. So long story short, we didn't quite hit the mark on it this year. We'll see what happened because we totally have revamped our analysis. I feel when we do our ratio studies and looking at our information now, I think we've really narrowed that gap quite a bit. So unfortunately, what this means though is that PVD will come and say, like they did last time, and say your 2021 is out, on the ratios. But 2022, we did, and even when you look at the abstract, you can see we did have to raise values substantially because of sales. So hopefully our ratio study will reflect the new figures more accurately this next year. So I don't know what else to say about it other than it is, that was kind of out of my hands at that point. I did try to appeal some of those, but PVD does have to do their independent study on those, and they can't, when they can't get a hold of someone, they just leave in the sales.
So we try to clarify for the people watching and
Right.
viewers here. So if we were in the 88 and we needed to get above 90 or 90 or and
Right,
above,
we need to be above
But-
90, so, and that was adding.
is that a
track.
ratio based on we charge too much property taxes or not enough?
Not enough,
Not enough.
right.
So
I mean,
Kansas is telling us to charge more.
well, I was gonna say, it's that on a median, and those are median figures. And so on residential properties, this county has had a history over the last, I mean, trying to keep up with the market these days is, we're trying to predict people's, behaviors, and to try to do that at an effective date of January 1. Well, 2020, January 1, COVID hit, and no one knew what, I mean, there was an inventory issue and all that. So I think all counties around Kansas really struggled with, what that impact was going to be. In 2021, we saw some sales that, but there was probably some hesitancy on raising those because we didn't know what 2022 was going to bring. Well, we thought maybe the market should slow down a little bit. So, I mean, I can see, maybe why they weren't brought up, just more being on the conservative side. So in 2022, when we did set values, I feel like we tried to get closer to what the market was. We're still finding, though, on some of these properties that, we're still maybe a little low in some areas, but when we're getting those sales in. So I don't know what 2022 will bring, because we'll get that probably next July, August time period, about this time period. So that's when we'll be graded on January 1 of 2022.
So what's that mean? So if we're not in non-compliance,
No,
does it mean anything to the county? Other than we
I think when you see
didn't
them,
charge enough taxes?
now taxes aren't just from the appraiser's office, and the values for taxation, our oversight is property valuation division. And what they put in law back in the late 80s was, this was part of our compliance, is to measure, making sure that we are a market driven, we have to use market value for properties except agricultural. So that's what they grade us on. And if we can't keep up with the market, it's been an issue not only here, but it's kind of statewide.
Now,
So.
the agricultural part of that is based off soil types, right?
Yes, that's based off soil types and how the property is being used, so grasslands, dry crop.
Okay.
And actually, Property Valuation Division, they value the agricultural land. So we have to do we're required to review agricultural parcels twice, every 2 years. We're in that process now. The new maps right now. So GIS is looking at our current maps, our other maps. If we have questions, we can send out a mailer. Information if we see changes in that agricultural use. If a property owner has changes in their property, if they would let us know, that would be great, because it's almost impossible to drive and look at. It's better with our aerials, it really is, but we do some on-sites if necessary. But those do come from property valuation after we get our soil type, all of our data in. We get those values usually in December. So the other property they do is our public utilities, and those are then given to the clerk's office once those they get done with those. So we don't do the public or state assessed properties either, but we do.
So we have a visitor coming from PVD?
Yeah. And last year, I think they didn't come. I was trying to remember. I was trying to pull my stuff. I think it wasn't until like December. So it was pretty late in the year. I imagine it'll probably maybe the same gentleman, Mike Dahlman, and I know that he's looking to retire, so I don't know if it will be him or it might be the deputy director, who is Bob Kent. But I think they know and understand, and they know me as an individual and know that I've tried. You know, I mean, we work hard over there, and we've really turned a few analysis around. So.
And Kathy, since we got you here and you don't get to come over very often, so when people see that they look on their evaluations for their taxes and
Right.
they're say $100,000 home and they're evaluated and that's their taxes that they're charged by PVD and we end up collecting them. What's the difference in a house that sells for $100,000, an actual real estate sale through sales? What would the evaluation be, just roughly? Would it be valued at $100,000 then by us?
Let me kind of give a short lesson on how.
There you go.
Okay. I was gonna say, I know where you're getting at, but it wasn't quite there. What we do, we're different than fee appraisers. Okay. So if you're going out to purchase a home and you're like, okay, I need to get a fee appraiser. A fee appraiser usually works for the bank or for the refinance company or whatnot. They get to go inside of the home. So a lot of times we don't see remodeling that's taking place on the interior or whatnot. So unfortunately, what happens though is that let's say a kitchen was redone and we had it on for $100,000 the year before. Okay. But then the sale comes through. Okay. For 2022, the sales we used for 2022 was, we used 3 years worth of sales. Okay. With a fee appraiser, they typically use within this last 6 months to a year. Just depends on availability.
Sure.
And so, we use the last 3 years, but we do add trends to get it up. We follow trends as to what the market has done, and we try to trend that information up so we have more current information. But what happens is in March when they receive that valuation notice, let's say that $100,000 home sold last year for $150,000. Okay, and we've put that into our sales because we do keep track of all sales that occur in Linn County. So we use for 2022, we use 2021, 2020, and 2019. So if you think about it, in 2018 was kind of the end of the recession. So you're getting even, the older sales are dropping off. So you're getting new. And I'll tell you the market and the, different things, but we do go through what's called a validation process. So we look at each sale and we make sure, was it arm's length? Was it on the open market? Was it not between, a mother and a child or relatives, different things. Make sure that it wasn't under duress, but we only use valid open market sales in our analysis. So let's say that last year they purchased it for $150,000 and then they get their valuation notice. Last year it was only $100,000. Well, we're going to find out through the sales that it was due to a kitchen remodel. So we're going to update our records to reflect how it currently is. So they may get in their escrow account, and this is one thing that I think I've talked to you about, is we get this happen a lot where someone purchases a new home. It's had some work done prior. Well, the taxes are based on, through your mortgage company, the prior year's value. And taxes. So what happens a lot is they get their escrow statement a year later and it was then based in March. When you get your valuation notice, it might be $145,000, $150,000. We strive to get within we have to be within 90 to 110% of market value is what our goal is when we value. So when a person gets their valuation notice, they have to look at that and they have to say, can I get this for my property? And that's what we're tasked to do is we're tasked to look at 3 years prior worth of sale. We do what's called a comparable sales approach, and we try to deem, try to get the most comparable. We can use up to 3 to 5 sales. Now, we don't have cookie cutter subdivisions here, so we also have the cost approach, but we do use our cost approach. We use sales to come up with our depreciation. So our cost, we have to use a cost approach or a market approach. And so look at that. Things we don't see is the interior of homes. So if they do get their valuation notice in March, we'd say, can you get that for your property? Do you feel like you can? If they say no because I have foundation issues or I have, we don't know about those kind of things.
So what about the cash sales? There's so many of them this last year and this year that there's obviously no appraisal being done in most cases. They just pay cash
on the tax sale properties,
on the property that they're purchasing. So maybe it was $150,000 home and they just bought it for $300,000. What do you do in those cases for your evaluation?
Well, it's going to be
because you wouldn't have all the pictures that the appraiser went in and took it and the evaluation.
No, but we do on-site visit every sale. And that's a mandate by the state too. So any sale that occurs that we feel like was an arm's length transaction on residential to be used in our, comparable sales approach, we go out and actually do an on-site inspection. And what I mean by that is we'll visit that property. We send out letters to the buyer or the seller. We do contact them and go through the information about the sale. So we have to do our own independent study on those. And then if we deem that it'll get pulled into the pool of sales being used. So I'll tell you, our pool of sales being used is actually, there's quite a few this year compared to, back in 2018, 2017. So we actually have more sales out there that are valid, open market, and people go, well, maybe they don't know our market. Well, they came here and were willing to pay, this, or then it's going to unfortunately be used in our analysis. Sure. And so, but typically if they don't agree with the value or look at it and have questions, they need to contact us, and we have copies of your comparable sales sheet we used. We have copies of your property record card, so you could always contact us and we can get you a copy of that. We also have a parcel search you can go out to.
I know it's generally just selling real estate that if they're trying to figure out their price for the sale of their house, when they look at the county taxes, they certainly don't want to take what the county's valuation is. They want
right.
where it's more realistic. So I'm not saying.
And if you're out there trying to find a home, or it's always good. And this is one thing that I've done in other counties, and I'm trying to get some information out on our website this way, is if you own a home, and because they don't teach you this in school, they don't teach you how to figure taxes, and they don't teach you, home buying, generally. So if you have questions about, I'm getting ready to, I'm looking at this property, what do you have it valued at? And I can say, well, and we can look to see what it's listed at, and we can actually give you an estimate off of, what your taxes may be if you purchase that home. And you could probably ask your mortgage company to go ahead and
add that to your escrow.
That to your escrow, I would imagine. So, but it's definitely Kansas. In Kansas, the residential properties are valued at, so you get your market value, and then they might see an assessed value beside there.
Yeah.
That's 11.5% is what they're actually taxed upon in Kansas. So, and then of course the mill levy portion comes from all the taxing entities. So we're only one part of this. We're not, so the biggest and most important thing is to making sure that your value is correct and what you feel like you could pay for that. So does that make sense? Or
makes sense.
Okay. So it's hard to break down, and a lot of people, it's a lot to take in. But long story short, I sent you this because, and then today I told you in that email that I anticipate we'll get our procedural soon, and we did today, but they're a little ahead of the game because I don't think I got it until September last year. So it will, our grade card looks a lot better as far as our procedural. We got all yeses and we got points that we didn't get last year that, so the staff needs to be commended for that. But it's just we didn't quite hit the mark on the values for
No
2020.
complaints from me if you're under the value.
In 2021, yes. So, and we'll see what 2022 holds. I mean, we're still getting sales. We're just like, wow. So,
Well, thanks for coming over, Kathy, and
sure.
giving that.
Sorry, I was trying to Apple. She called and I was like, I don't have my phone with me. I was trying to talk through the Apple Watch. So, anyways, and as always, if you have questions, come over and ask. And I would like, I can always sit down and
Sure. I always find it for the public sometimes, in this case, going over some of that was good information for them as well.
yeah, anytime they have questions, the staff's all very knowledgeable in how to explain things. So, as well as myself. So if you have questions, give us a holler.
Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Kathy.
Thank you. Any questions?
I
Nope.
don't have any.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Chris Martin, did you get that text?
Yeah, I already knew. I was going to tell you when we got around to it,
Well, go ahead.
that the state fire marshal has given us the approval to occupy the building. He's approved our, we still need a certificate from the architect, but they should have that before the day's over.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Put you in there, Mike, now. We got your sale ready. You get to pick it. You get your own color linen too, for being first.
Jessica?
Good morning, Jessica Hightower, Economic Development. Sean is out today, so you get me instead. Okay, I have the agreement, the amendment for the agreement with Scarecrow Lawn. He signed it and got it back to me. This is for mowing around the Justice Center as well.
Adding to the mowing contract, the Justice Center property. So you need to approve to sign that amendment to the mowing.
It's to mow around for $110 per mowing
Mowing and weed eating.
and weed eating. Okay. We just need to make
Motion to approve that contract amendment.
a motion. We approve this contract with Scarecrow Farm Lawn Care for mowing around the Justice and weed eating for the $110 per mowing.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a request from Rural Water District Number 3 for doing some work in our right-of-way. They've paid the $300 permit. It looks like this is on Plum Creek Road. I don't know. Looks like it's a boring under the road. Do we need a motion to approve, or how do we do that?
I believe the commissioners have to sign off on those, don't they?
Okay.
Look at the form and tell me. I believe you do.
It looks like the expected construction start date is 8/1. The expected end date is 9/1. So they expect to be done within the month.
Just need a signature.
I believe you'd need a motion to authorize that permit, and then you'll sign it.
That's my motion to authorize the permit for that stated address.
I'll second it. Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There are 3 lines. Does that matter that we just have 2 commissioners here today?
Just two that are here, that's all it takes.
I think I need to sign that.
There's that contract land there too.
35, 6, 8.
A couple of updates for road projects. On State Line Road, we had Mike Mueller from the Missouri Water Project contacted Sean. He will let us know when he can meet with the county, the landowners, and himself. And he's expecting that project to start within 4 weeks. Kate, who's the supervisor at the Federal Wildlife Preserve over there, she's working on getting an update on the Zener Bridge project. It was scheduled for this fiscal year, but since that ends at the end of August, she thinks that it should take priority for next year, and she'll let us know when she knows something. Gary had asked about Ratcliffe Road. I spoke with Mike. He is hoping to get started by the end of August. He's waiting on, there's a semi that's getting repaired. He's got to have that before he can move equipment to that area. And we will have to publish to close the road when that's ready. Okay, you had asked for reporting on the recyclables from the landfill. I have that. This is for 2022 so far. I've got totals on the front page and then quarters 1 and 2 on the graphs on the second page, and then it's broken out individually in the spreadsheets further back. Dates and amounts and
And this is what we've sold
so far this year.
this year?
Yep.
So the total shredded was,
Well, that's, I don't have third quarter because it's not done. That's
Sure.
the first 2 quarters.
so how, okay, for 6 months?
Yep.
So $8,400 in shredded. Cans, $839 cardboard, $1,244 total magazines, $162. Total glass, $63. And so a total of $10,000 in recycled, $10,700.
Jackie, do you want a copy so you don't have to? Yeah. Okay, I've got an extra. You can have it. Okay, we are working on, as you guys know, getting the site ready at Pleasanton to have our new fuel tanks delivered. We need some electrical work done over there. We have a bid from Kelly Electric for
Did you bid it out?
$7,950. So Sean looked up the county policy. He says that this counts as an emergency circumstance because the tanks are ready to be delivered, and also our asphalt crew is waiting on this work because they're kind of stalled right now until we get those tanks. So it's also less than $50,000. So he thinks that it falls under that emergency sole source policy.
But it's
So he
poor
didn't-
planning.
I'm sorry?
It may now, but it was poor planning. We should have known we needed electrical work when we did this, right? I mean, it may be emergency now, but it wasn't an emergency when we planned this. So we should have bid it then, is what I'm saying. So how much are we paying?
This is, this bid, if the county installed the poles, which we have done, is $7,950.
And we just had one person bid it.
He's done good work for us in the past, so that's who we called this time.
You have to have it to have the roads. I'll make a motion, we enter into that contract for that amount with that company.
Okay,
I'll second it, but like I say, we need to plan a little bit better than this because it isn't something that the tanks, we knew they was
Yeah,
coming.
exactly.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Um, Noxious weed has been spraying Johnson grass at the areas that were mowed last week around the fairground. They've been on Payne Road, Ferris Road, 300 Road, Polly Road. They've been working on completing service requests, weed eating around guardrails. Last week they went to Eureka for a monthly meeting. And they are planning on continuing this fall to work on cleaning up guardrails, culverts. They're going to start on paved roads and then move to gravel roads. We have a request for the Centerville sewer. We need some baskets out there to help catch debris that has been flushed down the toilets lately. Rags and things like that that are plugging up the lift stations. There is only one company that does this. They are baskets. We need 5 of them. There are 3 lift stations out there. 2 of the lift stations have 2 inlets, and 1 of the lift stations has 1 inlet. So
How
it's
many sewers do we have?
5
Active?
inlets. There are 3.
There's three main ones, there's one behind a house on the east side.
That's
No, that's different.
That's just the pumps.
How many residents do we have using do we know?
I don't know, I can find that out.
Yeah.
I think it's like
I
8
think
or 20 or something.
I think Joyce would know pretty quickly.
But he just telling you how many
I know.
pumps.
I got you.
So there's a picture of the device if you'd like to see it. This bid is, well, this quote here is $7,145 for 5 of these baskets.
And I did price out, I did get prices from other companies, but they did not provide labor for those, they just provide the baskets. And we don't have anybody certified to work in the confined space or the equipment to work in it. So this company is labor intensive.
What does it take to get certified for the confined space?
I think it's classes and tests.
And some equipment that we don't have probably. Gotta have some exhaust equipment.
Well, that would be based on air monitoring whether or not that you needed to have some type of ventilation within that. It's my wheelhouse.
So what are you asking for?
Approval to purchase these baskets and the labor to install the baskets for $7,145.
Who will pull the baskets in once they're plugged up? We'll have to have somebody back each time to pull them whenever we stick these. How can you get in there if it's a confined
So
space?
these are built on a rail with a rope or some type of pulley. It's a pulley system. They lower in, all you gotta do is open the lid and pull the basket up and empty it.
Jessica, what was the company on?
So it just sets
ASC
sets
Pumping
in the drain
Equipment,
system,
Inc.
And I take it in.
Yeah, you lower it down on these tracks and it sets right below the inlets to the cylinders, to the station itself. And the time that we've spent, I can go back and have, we always pull that stuff, and the time that we've spent, labor, trucks up there to pull these pumps out. Cause the rags and stuff get caught in these pumps and they shut down. We gotta pull the pumps out, clean them out, lower them back in. We've gotta have, Kevin usually comes up, cause he's got a crane on his truck to lift those pumps out. So we've got a lot of time and labor tied up in doing this, and they continue to do it.
How much does the pump cost when you replace it?
That I don't know. find that out too.
Just saying, if we have 18 people all on our sewer, is there a better, more economical way to do something than what we got? Because we keep replacing. We've been out there many times.
Everybody that can be on gravity flow is at this point. And the ones that are on pumps are situated so that gravity flow won't work because of where they are.
You do have a potential new person that wants to get a permit to put hook up to the sewer?
Yeah,
Okay.
he, came in last week, he bought an empty lot, and he's gonna build a house, and he wants all the information to tie into the main.
That's not the one that's outside of the zone, is it?
No, he's gonna put in a, septic system. This guy's inside
We had somebody ask who's outside the district.
Right, I remember that, yeah.
But weren't able to work it out in a way that was
But
affordable.
this is a different guy, right?
yeah, this is a different guy, just 2 lots north of the church. And he just wants information on what it costs, and if there's somebody that we require to do that hookup.
Okay. Waiting on him. What are you gonna do? Goes back a long, long, many moons ago.
It's a county sewer district.
It was developed back in the, what, 70s?
Probably it came to a head in the late 80s, early 90s that we were having leakage there. There were septic tanks on, 400 square foot lots and stuff like that.
It's never been a town, right?
It's never been a city.
City.
See, Centerville has always been unincorporated. There were problems there. We either had to, well, the only thing we could do to solve it was to create a sewer district. And so we did that in probably 1001 or 2, maybe, David, do you think? Or
I don't remember the year, but
USDA provides money.
they loaned the money.
Is there money in the district to pay for that? I
yeah,
guess it comes out.
I'm just going in to look at how much, there's plenty. I looked at it the other day. Let me give you a number here.
Yeah, there's money set aside out of the fees people pay
Fees
to make
to pay
these
for
kinds
that.
of repairs.
Yeah, at the moment, we've got a little over 97,000 in that fund.
And once we do this, there won't be any more other company come in. We can take care of
Should be able to, yes.
cleaning them and put the system set up to where.
So that's something you're gonna do?
Pull them, yeah, because I've got to go monitor them 3 times a week anyway. So I'll be there if the baskets are full, I can pull the baskets out. Empty.
And you're also monitoring down at the park,
I think Sean's doing that. Actually, I think it's on, it's monitored with, internet. I think notifications get sent to phones for that one.
so there are some more inspections that, I know KDHE or somebody one time got on to us about the park, something was going on, discharged water into the lake there a couple, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, the only thing that I know about that was there's discharge on the,
Do we get inspected at those places very often or at all?
not that I'm aware of.
And we get inspected here at Centerville though, right?
So we have to, Sean fills out every month, he sends discharge information. If we ever have to make a discharge on one of the lagoons. The ones in Centerville aren't even full.
Right.
There's only one pond that's full, and the other one's just now starting to get, stuff in it, and the other one's bone dry. So we haven't had to make any discharges out there.
Actually, the Centerville district is licensed for some discharge. The system at the park is not
Right.
licensed for discharge, and that's where we got no problem. We were having a discharge up there.
And we had some mowing issues around the ponds too, that somebody actually told us we better get it done. couple years ago. What I'm getting at is there's inspections and reports that come back. Sometimes I don't feel like the county, the commission gets a copy of those. So if you have those, just share them with us.
Okay.
Okay?
How
Whether they're
often do
good
you
or
have to
bad.
Pull those pumps, Darren? I mean, just on a monthly basis. Up to-
Probably, so we slowed it down, we, had Statins come out and we pumped the stations completely dry to pull all the debris out. And we've actually went, about 4 weeks without having to pull a pump. But I've got a pump that's acting up, I'm gonna have to probably pull it this week. But usually if we pull a pump, it takes about an hour and a half, depending on how much debris clogged up in the bottom of it and get it out. And
So this strainer's just gonna stop it from reaching the pump, is what you're saying?
Right,
It's,
right, like paper towels, rags, I don't know how they get rags down the toilets, but they do.
what stops it? Where's this strainer come in then? Where's the flow go ahead and when you plug your strainer up, I guess is what I'm asking.
You got your pump's in a well.
Yeah, I know.
The sewage comes in up here, the pump picks it up from the bottom, and so the basket sits under the outflow, so the outflow comes in, drains through.
So it just stops it from flowing in then until,
Drains it
And
through.
that basically would describe it right, yeah.
when you pull your strainer out, does all your flow continue running in then?
If it's running in at the time, it would be, yeah.
So,
Yeah, usually it doesn't run in that fast.
okay.
But, I mean, there's a little bit that comes in, but by the time you can pull that basket up and empty it, get it back down in there.
So this will be on a weekly or a monthly routine of pulling these strainers or what?
Well, like I said, I'm there 3 days a week, so I'll be able to lay eyes on it.
You can see what's there.
3 days a week, and if it needs to be pulled 3 times a week, it'll get pulled. How hard would it be to put a valve on the upstream side of that strainer, so you didn't get flow whenever you pulled that strainer?
I don't know what's,
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what.
I think as little as you're gonna have coming in there, Mike, during that 5 minutes he's got it out, it wouldn't hardly be worth the cost, would it? How much the cost is?
If he's dumping it on a regular basis, it's not gonna, it shouldn't be, right?
Well, that's the thing, because we don't know how much debris is going down in there.
and
because
going on.
There's no way to monitor. We just know when it's in there and it stops.
So Dave, we can use this money to pay for this problem that we got. I'll make a motion that we pay and hire that company at what's the amount?
$7,145.
And who's it with?
ASC Pumping Equipment Incorporated.
That's my motion.
I'll second it. Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got one more. Oh, here it is right here. Sean and I went last week to the Regional Planning Commission in Chanute to talk about an aspect of the bipartisan infrastructure law. This was a meeting of the Southeast Kansas region, so 13 counties would be involved in this. What we want to do is submit a grant application under the Safe Streets and Roads for All for a regional action plan for this 13 county region. KDOT, well, US DOT has come out and said that regional applications will automatically take precedence over individual applications. So if each of our counties submitted this individually, we'd basically get knocked out because we weren't doing it regionally. The grant, you have to have an approved action plan in place for street improvement in your area before you can ask for money to improve the streets. So there are 2 portions of this Safe Streets for All grant portion of the bipartisan infrastructure law. The first section is to make the action plan, and the second part is for the implementation of that action plan. So this this would be for the action plan, the first portion of that grant. It's a 20% match right off the top, but KDOT will provide 10% of that match for regional grants,
10% of the match or 10% of the total?
10% of the 20% local match.
So 2% of the total
No.
cost?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Are they going to provide half the match or?
They're going to provide half of the
Okay,
match.
so they're providing 10% of the total cost.
Yes,
For streets and,
for this action plan. Okay. Well, okay, so KDOT will provide 10% of the match for anyone who applies in Kansas.
No, they'll provide half the match.
Read that again. Start over.
I'm not.
It's an 80-20 grant,
Right.
okay?
And they'll
The
provide
local match is
half of that.
20%. They will provide half of the match, you're right. They will provide half of the match for anyone in Kansas who applies for this grant. If it's a joint application, they will provide another 5% of the total. So 15% can come from KDOT if we do it regionally.
So your total match to you would just be 5%.
Well, for the region, the entire grant would be 5%. We decided to keep it fair for all the counties. That 5% of the total would be divided, each county would be by population. So Linn County's amount would be just over $5,000 for this grant that we would have to basically allocate for this grant.
the grants for streets,
It is for Safe Streets and Roads for All is what it's called. So basically, this plan, the grant would pay for an engineer to come in and tell us in the whole region where we would be able to apply for this grant money to fix streets, bridges, roads, whatever. So the way we're going to request it is there's going to be an overall regional plan, and then it will be drilled down by county. So we will get a regional plan, and we'll also get one specifically for our county. This is so USDOT has estimated that these plans are between $2 and $5 million. We're not going to be able to get that for the county. If we apply just for us, we're going to be not even looked at by USDOT. So this is Regional Planning Commission's kind of fix for that.
But the engineers are going to tell us what roads we can repair.
What roads the grant would apply to?
Right.
be 2 to 5 million split between the 13 counties if we get it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. That's USDOT's estimated cost for this kind of project. Yes.
For the plan.
For the plan.
Yeah, that's not for the fixing the road.
Right.
For the plan.
This is just for the plan. So we would like to, this Regional Planning Commission would like to apply for the region for this grant. So we can get some of those infrastructure dollars in Southeast Kansas. What?
What's the engineer what's he looking for to qualify a road?
I'm not an engineer. I
I know,
can't
but
answer that.
I don't understand it.
I don't need to really.
He's what the engineer is going to do is come in and say, based upon the grant's requirements, here are the roads in your county that could be repaired or worked on with this money.
And the goal,
What's the requirement for it though? Gary, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
so they're basing the goal for the Safe Streets for All grant is to reduce fatalities on the roads. So that's going to be factored into the engineer's report is where have there been fatalities? Where could we possibly have fatalities? And what should we do to try and make sure that we don't?
Did they give any
For
examples?
example, we've
No.
got a place up here on, is it 1077? Where we have wanted for years to take some dips out of the road because of the danger that those dips cause. You know what I'm talking about, David?
I'm not sure which spot you're looking at.
And the cost was just prohibitive. We couldn't afford to do it. We actually had some preliminary design work done at one time years ago, but the cost was just prohibitive. But something like this might say, look, there's a case where taking these dips out of the road would be a safety enhancement, and that could be a part of your plan. Places where you've got unsafe
Curves.
curves, that kind of thing.
It could be as simple as putting guardrails up somewhere. I mean,
Replacing a too narrow a bridge with a wider bridge.
This 5,000 just gives us
It gives us part of the plan.
part of the plan. I mean, then we have,
We pay 5,000. Their guys are going to come in, do a plan for the whole region, break it down by county and say, in your county, here's what you could. And then they'll apply at another time, a later time, for the grants to do the work.
and the anticipation is that we could use this action plan, Linn County can use this action plan to apply for either a further phase of this Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, or it would be detailed enough that we could use it to apply for other road grants, road and bridge grants as well. We need to know today because we have to submit intent to apply by August 15th, which is next week.
What do you do?
I don't know.
So this is $4,000 or $5,000, basically.
The total
So they can-
that Carrie gave me is $5,073.64.
What's that?
So they're not gonna fix any curves or anything. They're gonna say, that engineer's gonna say, that bridge needs to be replaced. That's $1 million.
You can use this to go ahead and then apply for more grants.
Yep.
What you're saying. This.
Yep.
Can't wait till Danny comes back to where he can make a decision on it too.
I gotta know today. I'm sorry.
Jump on it, Dan.
This is the way all of this bipartisan infrastructure money is gonna happen. It's gonna have a really quick turnaround.
Hurry up.
That would be
Yep.
the only reason I would say yes.
For Danny.
The only reason I would vote for it would be for futures, because there may be even some federal money coming out.
They're
And I'm not interested in
anticipating
the
federal.
engineer telling me what road I can fix or repair, but in this case,
Just not knowing anything about this, or is this all roads in the county, state roads, or?
With KDOT involved, you said Department of Transportation's involved in this. Is this highway,
Yep.
Kansas highways too, or
I believe so.
so it's everything?
I think that it will be everything in the county.
okay.
I mean, I haven't seen anything.
I don't think
They
it's a
didn't-
horrible idea.
They didn't
just don't
talk
like the
about
way
just
it's-
paved or just gravel or anything like that. I think it's roads in the county.
So Kansas is paying, or KDOT paying anything on it, or just?
Well, they're gonna,
3/4 of the,
Yeah.
they're paying?
of the local match portion, yeah.
What's it called? I'll make a motion.
So this will be, the grant is the Safe Streets and Roads for All, and we're going to participate in the Southeast Kansas Regional application.
And it's up to $5,000.
The total that I was given was $5,073.64.
Okay, that's my motion. Hopefully in the future, that if we get more money or more grants out there, that will help. That's the reason I would do it.
I'll second it, I guess. Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
That's why Sean didn't come. He knew it would be difficult today, didn't he?
Okay, that's all on my list, I think, for today. Do you guys have anything for me?
Perry's back, I see you.
Harry's back. Yep, he came in today.
That's it, I guess.
Okay.
We're done with you. Thanks, Judge.
Okay.
Darren, you have something?
Darren Wilson, Planning Zoning Director. I put the RFP out for updating zoning regs on September, July 13th. The proposals were due back the 3rd of this month. I received one proposal out of 4, and I'm looking for guidance on, do you want it to be put back out to bid? Are you satisfied with one that we got? How would you like for me to proceed with that?
I'd like to have more idea myself. What do you think?
So put it back out for bid. The people that I've sent it to, can I call them and ask why they didn't? Because they asked,
Why not? Yeah.
okay,
I'd say that'd be a good question.
okay.
There might be a reason that you
They
could,
might just not have had time, they might still want to do it.
Okay, and I can extend the time on this to,
Find out if reason why they didn't want to.
okay, all right. That's all I got. You got anything else for me?
Public hearing,
Oh, tomorrow night, is the public hearing for conditional use, or not conditional use, comprehensive plan. Jessica will
Here
be
tomorrow night at
8
what are you
o'clock.
doing? Voting it in or whatever, accepting it, or what are you guys doing?
they're just hearing what the public has to say about it.
Okay.
And then the planning and zoning commission will make a recommendation to you on whether to accept it.
And they may act on that tonight, but they may not. They don't have to act tonight on that, but they may. But
And are you expecting any issues with it?
No.
Okay.
Not from previous meetings. I think everything will go fine.
when can they expect a recommendation then?
I think it'll be voted on tomorrow.
You'd see 5 votes to pass that comprehensive plan as it's currently written.
So hopefully.
So I've been reading the draft. I don't know where I got it. Did you send us a copy of the draft?
It's online.
It's online. Yeah, have you looked at it?
No, I haven't yet.
So I've been going through it, so I don't have any questions now, but it'll be interesting to
There's no waiting period, like there is on a conditional use permit, there's no waiting period between the planning and zoning committee voting on it and it coming before you. So if they vote on it tomorrow night, we would bring it before you next week.
Okay. So I would look at it. It's 87 pages, I think, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's on the website, anyone can access it, it's right there on the front
Right.
page.
Okay.
It's a pretty important document once we get it done because,
I'm really excited, I think it's well done.
okay, good.
Anything else?
I don't.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're kind of stuck till 11. That's when the hearing is scheduled on the budget. Just give you a little update on election. We had roughly 45% turnout.
Was that good?
Primary, which for a primary is pretty good. I thought we might beat that a little, but we're coming in about 45. Last week, as the week went on, each day we had to see if any more advance ballots came in the mail that were postmarked by election day. We could still accept them up to Friday. We did have a few more come in. We also had some advance ballots that were received at the polling places that came in with the ballots that night. So I believe we ended up with 15 additional ballots that we counted through the last part of the week. Other than that, I've been working on the provisional ballots that we'll bring in next week for the canvass. We had a total of 98 provisional ballots.
And that's still, we need to figure out if we're going to count
Right,
those.
and those we'll discuss at the canvass, but I can tell you what I've got on them right now is of that 98, I have 53 that I'm going to recommend that we count. Most of those were just address changes. I have 17 that I believe we are going to be able to partially count, which means they'll have to be hand counted because we can't run them through the machine. A couple of those were people who voted the wrong party's ballot. And that might be someone who was registered either Democrat or Republican, came in and insisted that they needed the other party's ballot, so they had to do a provisional. We can still count the constitutional amendment on those, so that'll be a hand count. And the others were ones that should have affiliated with a party in order to get a party ballot. And unless those affiliation cards are inside the envelope with their ballot, they didn't do that. So all we would be able to count on them would be the constitutional amendment. So I think there's 17 there that we can probably count that on. And then I've got another 28 that we will not be able to count unless one of them brings me an ID by next week, because there was one that was because of lack of ID. But there were 25 that were just not registered and 2 that were registered in other counties that tried to vote here. So I'll have all that next week when we go through the canvas, and I'll ask for your approval on those, and then we'll have to go over and open the ones that we're going to count, run them through the machine, and I'll have a board set up to do the hand counts. Along with that, we've got a ton of write-ins on this election. So I haven't even started entering those on my abstract yet. Katie and Morgan, I showed them a little bit what I was looking for on the write-in reports, and they're going to go through and try to combine like variations of the same person's name so I can get them all in one group on the race and sort out what fictitious names are on there that we won't have to count. So we're working on that as the week goes on. We also have to do an audit, which will happen this Thursday. This is a law that went in just within the last few years that we have to audit a percentage of the races in precincts in the county. The Secretary of State gives us a list of what races we're going to audit. And then when it gets down to county races, they give us a list that we just start down the list until we hit one that we have a race in to audit. So for this one, we have to audit the constitutional amendment in one precinct, the U.S. Senate on the Democratic side in one precinct, the Secretary of State race on the Republican side in one precinct, the Kansas House District 9 Republican race in one precinct. And in that case, the only precinct we have is Liberty, because that's the only one in District 9. So we know we're going to audit it. The county races, it came down to the commission race in District 1 on the Republican, so we'll do an audit on that. And then since the state treasurer race is so close, they've instructed all counties to do an additional audit of 10% of the precincts on that state treasurer race on the Republican side. Well, for us, that's going to be 2 precincts because we have actually 13 official precincts. So we'll have to do 2 to get us over the 10%. So I've got a board coming in Thursday to work on that. We've got people lined up for it from both parties. They will sit there and have to hand count those races on the selected precincts. We already did our selection of the precincts, which we did just by a random generator in the computer. And I've got a record of which precincts were selected. So we'll be preparing all those ballots, getting them sorted out for the board so that they'll be able to just look at the ballots they need to audit those races. So all that's still going on this week, and then we'll do our canvas next Monday. The way the canvas laws read on that, we're supposed to start the canvas between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. on the day that we do canvas. So I have it scheduled for 9:30 next Monday, and I had published a notice of that. So we'll need to at least start the canvas at 9:30 next Monday. So we'll do some of it here, then we'll go across to where the ballot scanner is, and then come back here to finish the meeting.
Okay.
And I think that's really all I have till we get to budget hearing today. And I said we're not allowed to start that until 11 because that's the time I had published on it.
So a question for you, David, probably some other people besides me is wanting to know. So you got this very close race, the Secretary of Treasurer. And then you'll have those uncounted ballot, those ones you said, 17 or so provisionals that you recommend. Will there be challenges of the 105 counties that
There could be.
just
There could be a total recount on the whole race,
Okay.
which could be requested by a candidate. So, but we won't, I believe the deadline for them to request a recount is this Friday. So it will be before our canvas is even done, and a lot of other counties won't canvas until
And
next month.
provisionals had to be in by when in order to?
Well, provisionals, we won't even look at until the canvas next Monday. So
But what was the ones you said would be in by, had to be in by Friday? Was
That was advanced
advanced?
ballots that were postmarked by election day, had to be in by last Friday. So we're done with those.
So out of state people, military as an example, are those provisional ballots or what are they called?
They could be. I did not have any military ballots
Okay.
this time.
They're basically out-of-state mail-in ballots,
Okay.
but they're provisional. They're the problem with them.
Yeah. Typically, those come in earlier than most of the others because if you've got somebody in the military that's overseas,
Right.
we usually email them a ballot and they email it back. And that's part of their form on the requesting those. It's UOCAVA is it's uniform
Sure.
and overseas.
Yeah.
They are giving up their right to privacy when they do it by email, but they sign off on that. And like I say, usually those go out 45 days before the election. A lot of times we'll have them back before we can even send out the mail advance.
And we don't have
didn't
any.
have any requests on that this year. And on people that are in that category, if they do request those ballots, their request is good for the calendar year. So I could still get some that would have to go out for the November election because they'd be good. But then starting January of next year, if they want one in next year's election, they have to request again. So it is, as close as that race is for the state treasurer, it's possible that there could be a recount requested on it. It's up to the person that requests the recount on how that recount is done, whether it's by hand or by machine. I don't know why someone would request it by machine because it's going to get the same results as when you ran through the machine the first time. So probably a hand count is what they would request. But if that happens, I'll have to put a board together for that. And they will have to go through and hand count every ballot on that
Who will
race.
determine the hand count if that's,
Well, typically it's the person who loses the race by a
That's-
small
that's just
margin,
the-
and they have to put up the cost of the hand count when they do it.
Huh.
If it changes the result, they get their money back, but if not, they're out that much money. And it's the same process we use on a local election if it would come up.
What would it typically cost to do that?
It varies so much depending on how many ballots you're talking about, because the cost is gonna be the time of the board that you pay to do it. And if we're talking about hand counting well over 3,000 ballots, it's going to take a board a while to go through that. In fact, we might do multiple boards even to get them going.
statewide, then it'd be really
But
big.
statewide, you're talking 430 some thousand ballots that would have to be hand counted. So, and there's a very short time to get that done once that request comes in. So we're all kind of waiting to see what's going to happen on that at this point, but nothing we can do about it right now. We just wait and see where it goes.
And in Kansas law, there's no automatic recount triggered based on the margin like there is in some states.
Right.
So, and like those provisionals I was telling you about that we have, I don't need any approval today. I'm just giving you a heads up. That's what we're looking at next week. And with the exception of that one that was because of lack of ID, I don't see any reason we would count any of the rest of that 28.
Okay.
With that, we've got almost 40 minutes until we can get into the.
You need me here for the budget hearing?
Need you here for the recess till 11 o'clock.
I'm always fun at recess.
You got anything?
I don't have any.
Want to do a recess till then?
We can recess till 11 o'clock and have the budget hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Set it to the executives. right, so budget hearing notice was published with an 11 o'clock time for hearing. First thing we need to do is the chair needs to open the budget.
Make a motion to open the budget hearing.
Not even, you just a statement, not even a
Okay,
motion.
we're gonna open up the meeting for the budget hearing.
Okay, so at that point, we need to see if there's any public comment.
Do we have any public comment?
I'll stand up and I'll say one thing only. And that's about the 5% that you and Danny, Rick voted for. You know, one of the things that you did and, is that you stated that you wanted to bring that pay up to keep new hires in the county, but in reality, you didn't do anything for the new hires. That's all I got to say.
Okay. I think our employees work hard, and I think it's well deserved. And I think with the cost of living, that increase was to me it was a moderate increase. Normally we only give 2 to 3%. This year we gave 5. There's a lot of companies and organizations that are giving more this year. So I understand what you're saying, but I look at it as a good thing for our all of our employees and for the county. Because in a lot of these trades, we just train them to move north. And if we can keep them comfortable here, and they do good work, then I don't have any problem with that. But I appreciate the comment.
Anything else?
And then just make a statement to close the hearing.
Make a statement that we close the hearing if no other comments.
Okay, so then at that point, we're ready for a vote on the budget. You guys have any other comments or questions before you approve?
Are you going to give numbers out or anything?
What do you want? I mean,
What's the budget set for?
so the total county budget,
Yep.
and this would be not including fire because it's on the next page, but the county, except for the rural fire district, the total budget would be $23,915,483. And then rural fire is $626,654. The notice we published is at the revenue neutral rate of 42.581 on the county and 1.921 on rural fire. So we are revenue neutral. We did not have to send notices for the county, although we sent them to everyone in the county because of other districts that went over.
Right. And then, I know this is for our budget, but in general, how did the cities, can you just go over the cities, what they did in the revenue neutral or not?
Lacine and Linn Valley were the only cities that went over revenue neutral. I didn't bring all the.
Sure, no, you're fine. So,
But
no, that's fine. Prescott and Pleasanton and Blue Mound and all them.
yeah, Mound City, Pleasanton, Prescott, Blue Mound, Parker all stayed revenue neutral.
Okay.
School districts, Jayhawk and Prairie View went over, Pleasanton did not. 4 of the 6 library districts went over, plus the LCK library went over. Lincoln Scott Hospital District went over. The extension, the little piece of Garnett School District we have, it went over, and it's up in the corner of the county up by Parker. I don't remember off the top of my head if any other entities went over or not. I know none of our cemetery districts went over.
Do we have any Bourbon County that comes in as far as Fort Scott?
No,
District?
part of Jayhawk goes into Bourbon, but we don't have any
Nothing
of theirs.
comes in. Okay.
And I don't know what they did down there.
Well, good job for everybody that got that. Is there hearings started or over or what for the cities and the,
Well, some of them have had them. The ones that are going over can't have their hearings.
Okay.
They have to wait until after August 20th.
okay.
But I'm starting to see a few of them come in because once they have the hearing, then I get a copy of their signed certificate page.
Okay.
So I mean, it's here. If you guys want to look at anything else, it's the same one I sent you
Right.
a couple of weeks ago when we got ready to publish. So whenever you're ready for it, I'll just need a motion to adopt the 23 Linn County and special districts budgets.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the 2023 Linn County's budget.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, well, that's all I need on it. I need you guys to sign over there on governing body. If you could both sign off on that. So we're still working on getting election stuff wrapped up and getting these notices out. Jackie folded a bunch of the notices for us, but then her printer broke down, so we ended up getting about 4 boxes of them back from her that we're holding ourselves and to get them.
What? She didn't want to work this weekend?
Well, they were working, but then her folder broke down. And then we'll get them all stamped and in the mail by Friday. And once I have a total cost on everything, I'll turn that into the state for reimbursement for our expenses on it. But I'm expecting around $20,000 probably.
That'll go back to the general fund or the?
Yeah. But I've got the expense of the paper, the envelopes, the toner, the folding that Jackie did, and postage will be.
Will that cover all the expense, you think?
Well, I'm not allowed to turn in
Overtime.
labor.
Oh, labor.
Labor in general or just
Yeah,
overtime?
labor.
Wow.
That's not included in there, what they'll reimburse. So postage is gonna be our biggest part of the expense, because we're looking at over 20,000 notices, and we are trying to combine some of them into envelopes together for people that have multiple properties. I'm not saying we're gonna catch all of them going through and doing that, but as much as we can, we'll try to combine them to cut down on postage. And I know Janet does that every year with tax statements too, and
We talked about that a week or two ago about even the state level getting that to where it was more of an email type deal. What do you think of that, Janet? Never work?
Why? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, they move so much.
But you don't have to change your email because you change your address. I've had my email since the 90s. I just think if it was
It'd
a
have to be
possibility,
done at the state level. I mean, they'd have to decide how to do it, but I just was,
it would be so much better, wouldn't it? I mean,
would save a lot of money too if it would figure out that they can do it at the state level a bit.
What it costs.
I know, but I mean, that's just one thing, you know, you think about, sending out your tax forms and
the
everything.
tax forms, and in the spring, the appraiser's office sends out the valuation notices, so
yeah.
we spend a ton on postage in a
Be
year.
something that could be talked about at the state level if they could get it. I mean, it's something that wouldn't happen overnight, but
Yeah, another one of our big expenses every year is publications, and Janet has the big one on that with the delinquent tax notices. I mean, we spend thousands of dollars on publications every year, tens of thousands of dollars, but there are some notices we have to publish more than once. Is that three times on yours? That's something I know our association and treasurers have both tried to get legislation through to cut down to like one publication or just put it on your website. But
that's a state regulation that you
Yeah.
have to 3 times.
that's the newspaper lobby is very strong in Topeka, and it's hard to get things like that changed because that's where a lot of their income comes from.
Right.
I had some of my election notices I have to publish 3 times that are not cheap notices on them either. So we do look for places we can try to save, but
Right.
a
It
lot of
wouldn't be
times
something that you guys.
the
could do, I
regulations
know that.
don't allow us to.
Rick becomes state legislator, he can change that someday.
Yeah, like all the rest of us changed something, right?
All right, well, that's all I've got for today then.
Anybody have anything else? Make motion with adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You leaving that fast? Next to the clock was?
What do you want to talk about?
You go ahead.
It's good.